You've been waiting for the all-22 breakdowns. You know, there's been a lot of losses here, but it's time today on Warchant TV with Dominic Robinson to make some chicken salad, folks. We are hunting for chicken salad. You know the saying and how it goes, and that's why Dominic Robinson is here to break down the all-22 of Florida State quarterback Brock Glenn and his first start of 2024. Let's see what the tape says about what Brock did against Clemson. Dominic, welcome as always. We appreciate your knowledge. And where do you want to steer us today as we take a look at old Brock's performance?
You know, really, I didn't read anything. So I wanted to be as completely impartial as I could. I didn't watch the TV copy at all. I just turned on the film and I wanted to just watch Brock for Brock. I don't want any sort of outside influence. I didn't ask you any questions about what maybe people were saying about him in the media or anything like that. And, you know, I think it's good, or we should all as fans be encouraged by what we saw in terms of his competitiveness and, you know, some of the throws he made. And then more than anything, I think Mike Norvell's creativity and ability to find ways to get guys open, just to get first downs. You can see that he's working his tail off, you know, to get these guys, you know, first downs, and he's doing a really great job with play design and play calling. And we're still struggling in terms of making plays. There were 4 drops in the game. He was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks, which is a lot. That's you know, almost half of your dropbacks. You have pressure in your lap. That's going to make for a very long, very tough day, and it makes it very hard for the play caller. And that's why I say I think Coach Norvell did a phenomenal job of figuring out, hey, how do we get first downs and move the ball down the field when there's someone in his face on every other throw.
Yeah. And then so obviously 40% would represent the number one, the most pressured passer in the country in FBS. The only guy that Brock would be behind, Dominic, you know the answer to this, but the only guy he'd be behind would be DJU, who was pressured on just under 48% of his dropbacks before the injury. So let's see. Mike Norvell had a lot of hurdles to overcome. So did Brock Glenn. How did they perform, and what did you see?
Okay, so right off the bat here, first down play. You get a little short motion from your Y here. You're going to go RPO and throw a slant. You know, Brock's clearly amped up. I think one of the common themes you're going to see with Brock is, man, he's got some zip on his ball. He's got to start adjusting to like putting some touch on some of these throws. I mean, that's a guy that's open. And if you just put it on him, he's going to be able to run for a while. And so, you know, but right away, you love the play call. I think if you're Coach Norvell, you're you know, I said it to you. You almost feel like you may want to throw your play sheet away, because that's an easy pitch and catch that you kind of expect, you know, guys even at the 8th grade level to be able to complete. But, you know, Brock, I'm sure, is amped. His first start of the year. It's Clemson. It's at home. You know, all of those things. So you miss that throw. You come back to second down. Tries to throw screen here. There's either a missed assignment or a misunderstanding here on the number 3 receiver is Ja'Kai Douglas right there. Is supposed to block the first inside backer of the box. He goes to the second for some reason, leaves this guy wide open to make the tackle. Ends up actually getting a good gain for what he should have had. I mean, that's an unblocked defender with a back with his back to the guy that's going to tackle him, and that linebacker needs to just play it more aggressively. He doesn't. He slows down, which gives the back, you know, some space.
But if you make that block, I mean, my God, that's an explosive play. It's an explosive.
Absolutely. You know, your second play of the game there, you're looking at a really good play. Let me see if I can get it from the. I mean, just look.
Oh man!
You know, this is the one guy that needs to be blocked. And well, if you just seal, you don't even really have to block him well. You just seal the edge, and you've got there's nothing but grass, you know, outside of here.
I'd be chucking my play sheet, because I mean, it's your second play. That's something that you rep all week, Dominic. I mean,
absolutely. It's a second play of the game. It's something that you've run every day that week. You've probably run it multiple times. You're probably to the right and to the left. And it's a simple screen. There's nothing complex. There are no shifts or motions on it. And that's not a hard play or a hard block to make. The other thing that Clemson didn't do in this game at all was blitz, which makes this a little bit more difficult. Screens versus just a 4-man rush, or usually you want at least one guy. It's one less guy you have to block. So maybe that was something that they planned for. Clemson didn't blitz barely at all, 16% in the game, just rush 4. So, but yeah, you just need one block there, and you don't even need a great block. You just need a guy to stand on the outside and make this number 17 have to run underneath you in this direction. And if he does that, Toafili's going to win that edge every time, which he still does, even with the guy unblocked. So you've got yourself a great play, on the second play of the game. Then you get to 3rd and 7, and this is, third down right now is a nightmare. Third and anything more than 4 or 5 is going to be trouble. You'll see this concept a little bit later when we're backed up, but at this point you've got a 4-on-3 here down here to the field. So they're playing box. They've got these guys boxed, and then you've got a 2-on-1 here. Clemson's able to get some pressure, and Brock doesn't see anything and has to eat that and eat that sack. And so that was the opening series. Obviously, like I said, there's some things there. There's some good design, and then on 3rd and 7, it's it's just going to be rough sledding. Because Clemson was able to just rush 4. They actually rushed 5 here, condense the pocket, and guys weren't able to get open. So this is the first play of the very next series. Kind of similar formation. Coach came out in a nub twins and tries to throw a boundary screen, or sorry, field screen. So field the screen to the wide side. This ends up being a really good first down play. Now, the reason why I'm showing this is I would say of any criticism I have is we didn't see this particular play again to the field. Now, we saw it to the boundary multiple times, and every time we lined up formation into the boundary, Clemson absolutely knew we were going to throw boundary screen, and they blew it up. There was something, that we tipped our hand. Throwing it to the field allowed these guys space. So even if it's not blocked well, which it's not blocked particularly well here, you still have the space to make guys miss and get upfield and fall forward. Now you're in a 2nd and 4. It's a really good, that's a winning down right there. On first down, we can't even run the ball for a single yard. So getting 6 on a field screen is a really good call. So that was one reason why I wanted to, point that play out, because now I'll show you screen to the boundary, which is we saw multiple times against Clemson. We line up to the boundary, and you can watch the boundary defenders, corner, the overhang, and even the safety on all of these. Anytime we line up to the boundary, they are flat foot. They're not backing up at all. They don't feel threatened by our guys. We hadn't shown that we'll run by guys or beat guys vertically. And so they line up, they're flat foot. You see, at least you get the safety backing up a little bit here. But, the overhang and the corner are just flat foot at the snap. They know we're throwing boundary screen before we even, snap the ball. At this point, this guy, you see the corners creeping towards the line of scrimmage. He knows we're throwing screen. The overhang knows we're throwing screen, and they're ready to blow it up, and they do. And that became a very common thing that Saturday night.
It makes sense. I mean, even in the Memphis game, there was a throw where the corner jumped it so much he wasn't turning looking for the ball, but it basically scraped off of his hip. He was in such position. If he had just bothered to turn around, it has been predictable that Florida State loves them some wide receiver screens. And to your point, defenses aren't afraid of getting beat or roasted over the top.
Yep, absolutely. So here's a play that we saw earlier, kind of similar concept to what we saw earlier. where you're going to get a run action, RPO action, and try to get a slant. They changed the formation. They went into a bunch formation, which I really like. Again, I think Coach Norvell mixing up the formations and shifts, things like that are really, really helpful. Oh, they actually didn't go play action here. Sorry. And you get your inside slant, and Brock just misses. I mean, there's something about the lack of touch. Now this is a third and I think it was a third and what did that say? 3rd and 9, and you're backed up. So I know the heart rate's up high and everything here, but man, if he could just put a little bit of touch on this, that guy's going to catch that ball and he's going to run for a while. At the very least, you got yourself a first down. You know, these were kind of the things that made me see, okay, I can understand why, you know, the coaching staff chose to stick with DJ. You know, through all of those rough times. Is there were definitely times where you can see, okay, this guy's he's a backup quarterback, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not, you know, there's a lot of guys that are very good backups, and I do think that he showed that he's a good backup, but it explains why they didn't make the change, you know, because that's a throw that should be made. And he tends to just not, you can see like there's some zip on this pass that probably doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
You know, and so you end up with, you can call it a drop. Either way, it's an incompletion, and it's kind of the reason why we're having the tough season that we're having is, you know, plays like that, not capitalizing on opportunities like that. So then we got to a point in the game. So this is play 34, and there's a point right here in the middle part of the game. So the offense played somewhere close to 65, 70 snaps. And around this point, Coach Norvell found something. The drop back game wasn't there, as we saw. They got sacked when they went drop back, even with rushing 4. They got sacked rushing 5. And the screen game wasn't there when they were trying to throw screen into the boundary. So then he went to this stick concept. And so I'll show you, you know, stick is essentially run out of a condensed formation. You're going to get a slight inside release, and then that's actually called a stick route. And then you'll get someone to expand the flat underneath, and there's several different ways you can get to that, whether that's through motion, jet motion from the backfield, but anything that would expand the curl flat defender, this underneath defender, and then widen the corner or whoever's over number 1. As soon as this guy widens, you know, okay, I have my stick, okay, which is the inside. He's sort of a hitch route. And so Coach Norvell found that, and once he found that, it was definitely an unlock for the offense, an easy 4 or 5 yards, and if you can catch and run, even more. But I mean, you can see like the placement on that. You know, corner has to expand just a little bit for the flat, and it doesn't leave much space. But that's a really good throw, really good catch and throw, and a way to expand the change there that was actually a 4th down here.
Yeah. Good anticipation too on that.
Really good. You got to grip it and rip it. There's not much time to decide. As soon as you see that corner expands or holds on the outside, you got to just stick it in there in between the curl flat defender and the corner. So this one is a little bit different in that there's no one expanding the flat here. But you know, similar concept. Like I said, mixing up and finding different ways to sort of run the same thing. It's that, you know, the number 1 zone that Brock had completions in is what I call zone 2, which is this is 1, this is zone 2, and this is zone 3. Okay, so it's under 9 yards in between the hashes, essentially. Mm-hmm. And that's where that Brock had 123 yards in that space, in that zone 2 space. And so, and the reason for that was essentially the stick route. There were a lot of completions on the stick, and then he completed a slant or 2. And so that was something that Coach Norvell kind of figured out. That's where he was comfortable. And that also kind of tells a story in terms of his ability. As we all know, everyone talks about this throw. When it comes combine time, outside the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
15-yard comeback type space. Like those are the guys that make a lot of money to play football. Guys that throw the ball in here don't typically make it very far.
Yeah.
Because the defenders at that level are so good that you got to be able to push it to the sidelines.
So where is he reading? Like, just if we're watching at home and the picture isn't too condensed. Sometimes ESPN does that and you can't see anything. But like, where is he? Okay, so he's looking at the slot defender.
It's very simple. Yeah, this is a very simple read. If this guy keeps any width, I have this guy. Okay, if the apex defender squeezes at all, then I have this guy.
Okay.
So it's not this is not a complex, which again I think it tells you a lot about Coach Norvell, his thinking, where Brock is. It's very this is a backup quarterback, and I'm not saying, hey, very high level quarterbacks, or coordinators use this to get Peyton Manning's and Tom Brady's on track. This is a very much a, hey, we just need to get you back on track and get you into rhythm. And so he's just reading that defender. Right now, you see that defender turned his back. So Brock should know right now, 2 turned his back. I'm hitting number 3. So this guy, his jersey number 2 turned his back. So I'm going to throw the ball to my number 3 receiver, if you count him from outside in. 1, 2, 3.
Got it.
So it's just that simple. And again, it's grip and rip, and this guy can rip it now. He can rip it. That's for sure. There's no shortage of velocity on his throws. You come back to the condensed formation. Again, this is a really good job by number 0 here. He's got to avoid the press defensive end that's going to, try to shock release him. And then he's got to box out the defender, number 2, the nickel defender there. And he does a really good job. Again, another example of a way to get to stick, or a stick-like concept. This might be hitches. This might be all hitches, hitches from the guys inside, and then speed outs from one. But I'm sure this is in their stick family of routes. So again, 3 different ways now we've seen. It's all essentially the same thing, which is get the ball to the number 2 receiver inside the hashes. It's a very simple read, and a very, I wouldn't call it an easy throw, but it's not a throw that's in the air for very long.
Well, that was a second 4th down, so that tells you something too. When we got to have it, they run that concept twice.
Absolutely, yeah. So here was an interesting one, because this is a stick like route by number 2. It might be an out, and he just sat. This again shows the arm strength. The accuracy is really good. I wasn't quite sure what route concept they were running. This might be dig by 1, and then this is sort of called a grab route. You want to grab and pull this guy out of the window so that he can hit the dig. And Brock liked the grab route, and so he took it and stuck it in there. Okay, not quite stick, but very, very similar to. It's just a deeper version, I guess you could say. It's sort of a deeper version of stick, because it was 2nd and 20 right here. So there was a holding penalty on 1st down. So now you're 2nd and 20. This is a really good positive play, man. Get you back on schedule to be 3rd and 8 here. And then here's the last one. This was a 4th down. Again, I just, like I said, Norvell in his bag. So, they ran switch stick. So now the stick route is normally run from number 2. This guy runs the stick. This guy runs the out. Well, they ran switch stick. So now let me delete that. This guy comes inside and runs your stick. And this guy will expand the flat this way. Okay, so really cool. Again, to see, I just showed 5 different ways, that they got to the same essential concept. This was a 4th and 1 when you can't run the ball, you haven't been able to run the ball, and wide out stays on his feet. You get a catch and run now. Now a route that you're supposed to get 5, you're hoping to get 5 on. You end up getting 15. So great concept, great execution, and really just, again, great design. You can kind of get a really good look here of what happens. So 2 expands. As soon as 2 expands right there, the jersey number 2. Okay, as soon as he expands, Brock knows I'm throwing the stick. It's simple, easy read. And I would imagine at this point, 17 probably even knows it and is anticipating that they're going to run stick. And he starts to cheat out, and there's great ball placement, and 10 staying on his feet there. Really good job.
3 for 3 on 4th down. They did it again. So
yeah, very good. All right, then I'll transition into these next couple plays. So this was, I believe this was a 3rd down. Yeah, this to me, this was big. You're in the 4th quarter. Hell, you might still be in the game. You're down 14, 15, 16. So you're definitely in the game. It's 3rd and 4, and you got to have it. And coach goes to run a slant to the single receiver. So I'll actually go back to, we also went formation into the boundary, which was typically going to be screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's 3rd and 4. So these guys could definitely, down here at the bottom of the screen, be thinking screen. They end up, obviously they don't run the screen. They go away from the screen side and they run a slant. And they did this earlier in the game too. I have a clip where they lined up formation to the boundary and they threw a hitch to the single receiver side, to the side away from where the most receivers were. But this is huge. I mean, to be able to line up in that formation and make that throw, he's got to protect the throw with his body. Brock has to put it within the frame of his body because the coverage is so sticky. You can see that corner does not move on the release, that's a whole nother story that tells you these guys are not threatened by our speed or ability to run by. And so he's flat foot on 3rd and 4. And so this route, this is a really good route in that he has to get flat and to protect the throw. He does it and even breaks the tackle and falls forward. It's a big time, 3rd down right there. A great catch and throw and run. And again, something to be encouraged about going forward, because this is later in the game. These are the throws. I mean, that's a throw that he missed. Play number 1. It was a slant on the other side, but it's the same throw, a slant throw that he missed, and he doesn't.
And it looks like, Dominic, it has the dynamics on the throw. Like you were talking about, a little bit more touch. Like that's got zip, but that's not the same rocket that you saw in the first play from scrimmage.
Exactly, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to put that one on there. Was you can definitely see there's a difference between the touch on that ball and the touch on the first ball, as it's like picking up velocity as it's passing him. Where this one is sort of it's landing soft. It's a soft landing when it gets there, and that's again that was a good sign. You could see him again. He's settling into the game, and then here on a 1st down shot, they go play action, and they throw. And now this is actually that play. This is the play that they missed on the first play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ja'Kai Douglas at number 2. They show run action to bring that safety down. The safety comes down. He's got to rip it, but he's got to layer it in a way that the guy can catch the ball, and he puts it in a spot where only he can get it. It's a really good throw. Let's go to the tight. again, this is the same exact play call as play number 1. And now you get yourself a touchdown. These are things that are, again, well, like I said, this is something to be encouraged about, going forward. The thing that really I think we're all sort of scratching our head was we all thought, hey, when this guy starts, it's going to be run the quarterback time. It's quarterback run game. Well, this is play 51, and this is the first time that we saw him run the ball past the line of scrimmage. And, so I thought this was, again, is a head-scratching type of thing. Not only did he not have any designed runs at this point, but this was a scramble. He hadn't even scrambled at this point. He'd been sacked and, hadn't got out of the pocket. Now, this is a 4th and 9. And, you see the makings of a guy with some savvy, the little pump fake to get the lineman up, breaks tackles, falls forward. You're seeing some really good things on this play. But I wanted to put that on there just to point out, it's very strange that we're on play 51 and it's a 4th and 9. And this is the first time that we've seen him run.
I got to imagine on the wide copy of this play, Dominic, that now that the guys see that, like his teammates see that in that moment, scramble drill, like there might be a little bit more. Like I didn't see a whole lot of guys fighting to get open, but maybe it's because they're so used to having a statue. Like, you look at downfield, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot. There might be a little bit more effort this week.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can see, yeah, there's some guys what we used to call loafs. There's some loafs on that where, at this point, man, if I'm a wideout, I'm screaming this direction. If I'm this guy, I'm screaming in this direction. And you're not seeing that. He's got to put his foot in the ground and he's got to be flying and, in this direction. And you watch, he carried himself into get covered. He's not flying at all. This guy might be working just a little bit to get there. Yeah, he's working. But other than that, man, those guys got to be prepared for that. And that's something, I put this clip on here. I thought this was another play where now all of a sudden, so actually I'll go back, on play 53, he hadn't scrambled at all. Now within 2 plays, we're going to get 2 scrambles from him. And this isn't a great play, but the difference between 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 4 is huge, at the Division I level.
Yeah.
You got to get yourself, into good and on a good schedule. And so you get yourself, those 4 or 5 yards there are big on 3rd down, especially because you're in 4 down territory. You're going for it on 4th down. So there's a scramble on 51. Then there's a scramble 2 plays later where he hadn't scrambled for 50 straight plays. And so it tells you something about him probably settling into the game also. And then I really love this play. Now this is play 65 a little bit later. And this is kind of what you're talking about. He feels the pressure. He doesn't feel anyone's open. He works for time. And now we find scramble drill and he drops a dot right here. He doesn't pull that guy into the defender, even though he's drifting to his left. He doesn't continue. If he continues this guy, I mean, he's going to either throw a pick or he's going to get this guy blown up.
Right.
Right. And he doesn't. You've got to throw that ball to his left shoulder so he can protect himself. And that's exactly what he does. You see, he catches that on his left shoulder. I thought, again, this is a great sign for things going forward in terms of it looks like this guy is going to get some savviness or he has some savviness in terms of, escaping the pocket, buying time, and then can deliver it downfield. And maybe they're not used to that. I also want to bring up this formation that they went to late in the game, which is empty with the T. Okay, so your tailback and then your Y. So you're creating wide edges for the pass rushers. And you could potentially block with 7, but you could also release those guys late. And they did a lot of that later in the game. And I expect that trend to continue because they had some success and that makes it a lot tougher for the defense than just lining up in a straight empty where the receivers are out wide. Normally you have like a number 3 right here, and then your number 2 is detached. So now it's just a pure 4-on-5 with no help. And
Right.
so they gave those guys help with the Y and the running back. And like you see on this play, and this happened on other plays, you see both those guys are check releasing, and it helps. It helps tremendously. He's able to have a lot more time, and then again, he delivers a great ball. So that's my summation on Brock. Like I said, I you can see why they stuck with DJ as long as they did, but you can also, I think, be encouraged that this is a guy that can keep you in some games, and as long as you can play the defense that you played, I think Saturday night, against lesser offenses.
Yeah.
You're going to be in some 24 to 21 games, here coming down the stretch.
Hey, 24, 21 points for this offense right now. People would sign up. They'd say, where do I sign on the dotted line? So from what I can tell, Dominic, it does appear that you're seeing growth within the game because you showed some data points early, mistakes, same situations, better play out of Brock. And then also, I mean, you played skill positions. Maybe some of the things he did, like a 4th down scramble or a scramble drill, throwing it on the correct shoulder for Malik Benson on that play. Guys start to trust you at that point, and you're proving it to them that, hey, man, I'm going to do the extra things for you. Now it's time that you reciprocate and help me out when I need help.
Absolutely. And guys start to get used to that role. The chemistry of a football team should be studied. It's this really dynamic, fluid thing that changes with the drop of a pen. The whole chemistry of the whole thing, all 85 guys or 105 guys can change with just the smallest little tweak. And so, finding that new role when this guy's at quarterback is something that, it completely will change everything you do, Monday to Friday, and obviously shows up on game day. So guys learning and figuring that out and seeing again the savviness that he has when he escapes, and that he's not just going to put his head down and run, that he may deliver the ball and he's going to protect me with his throws. These are all things, these are all information that you're taking in on real time, and it's adjusting the way that you perceive the game to be. And it can make a huge difference, and it could definitely help. And obviously as fans, we're all very hopeful that that's the case, that we can at least see some life from the offense.
There it is, the prescription from Dr. Dominic Robinson, that if it's 3rd and gotta have it or 4th and gotta have it, might not be a bad idea for your eyes at home watching the game. Take a look at that slot defender and see what they do, and see if Florida State goes to work on that particular player, because they did so against Clemson. So, Dominic, final thoughts. As you tune into the game, it's Friday this week, so I know that you obviously have responsibilities on a Friday night. But when you start to watch this game, what are you expecting to see? You teased it with the formation, might be some different formations, but might there be some growth and even some things that we have not seen yet that maybe, that it presented itself when you're viewing the All-22?
Yeah, like I said, I think we're going to see Brock run earlier, not necessarily by design, but just by comfort. I think he probably comes into this game going, I want to make it to the 4th quarter. That's human preservation is the number one survival instinct, right? Like, we're going to save ourselves. And so he may have come into that game thinking, I gotta just stand back here and deliver the ball so that I can finish this game. And as you get to go, and he's a competitor, as we all are, and the competitive juices start flowing, and then you start to see, hey, when I do run, I'm okay. I can protect myself. And so I think we're going to see that earlier. I think, again, it seems like Mike Norvell found the stick concept around, snap 30. It was right in the middle of the game. So I expect, and I've seen this from him numerous times, he's going to use that as a weapon. And it won't be stick, or it will be a variation of stick, but he will have a change up to it. And he'll have, so the concept that you run is stick nod, which is like an out and up type of deal, but it's in the seam area.
Yeah.
So I would expect to probably see that. or just the evolution of him using stick. But in order to run stick nod, you got to be able to protect it. It's a much longer route than just running stick.
Yep.
So, so finding, I'm going to be watching to see how does he evolve, that concept, because those were, again, Brock had, he had 123 yards in zone 2. He was 11 for 13 in between the hashes, underneath 9 yards, 11 for 13. Like that's, you can't beat that. And so I expect them to continue that trend and then try to use that or weaponize that when you start to hone in on that area. We're then going to try to push it to the zone behind it, which would be that seam, middle area,
there it is.
post seam area. So
hope everybody enjoyed the all 22 breakdowns. As always, we get smarter when we watch with Dominic Robinson. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button underneath the video, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. And you can go back and take a look on Warchant TV, previous breakdowns of Florida State's offense, Florida State's defense. Dominic Robinson has quite the library now available here on Warchant TV, so we hope you check it out. Thank you, Dominic, as always. And for Dominic, my name is Tom. We'll see you next time right here on Warchant TV. We'll see what the Noles put together on a Friday night at Duke.
Go Noles.